The points which you have been making refers to the seasoned investors who come in and go out daily. But as far as
So
mass,
he's talking of financial institutional investors versus
yes,
retail investors.
retail investors.
So that's the question.
So
Institutional versus retail. Yeah.
the investment was already on a downhill before this coronavirus started happening. Mutual fund investments were down. There was a lot of negative sentiment in the market. What kind of communication you think needs to be established from the government and the institutional investors to restore the middle class's confidence in investment, financial investment tools available in the market?
And Avinav, by the way, Mr. Sinha has also been the chairman of the Association
Amphi.
of Mutual Funds of
Yeah,
India.
that's why I'm asking him this question.
While he has a helicopter view, he also has a granular view.
That's why I'm asking this question to him. So, sir, the mass investor, the middle class, who's always a little reluctant to invest in mutual funds or maybe equity markets, what kind of communication should be devised for him from the authorities to restore his confidence?
You see, I have two observations to deal with this question. One is that last week, government and the Reserve Bank of India have already shown their commitment towards saving your investments and my investments when the Reserve Bank of India announced a special line of credit of 50,000 crore rupees. And this was done in 2013 and prior to that in 2008. So something like that they have been able to do. And imagine this has come on the heels of this TLTRO on April 17th. So to me, it gives the signal that government and the Reserve Bank of India both are keen that the markets will function normally. And if there are any temporary issues, temporary challenges, those challenges should be handled. My second observation is that nobody has ever seen something like this. This is something which is unprecedented.
Correct.
So, in this situation, some companies will be winners, some economies will be winners, and some of them may have to lose out unless they are very productive. They try to change their business model. They try to be adaptive. So these are the things which we have to take in mind, that this is a very, very serious challenge. I mean, you can't blame the government of India or the Reserve Bank of India for this problem. This has not come because of something done by a foreign power. The whole world is facing this, number one. But within that also there will be winners. And for a country like India, almost $3 trillion of economy, there are a lot of strengths, and those strengths will come to our help, especially the help, the advantage which we have in our technology. Yeah. Second is the strength of our pharma industry. They have proven to the whole world that we are the virtual leaders in this area. So we have a number of strengths. I'm not pessimistic about this. A challenge has come, a very, very major challenge has come. And the solution is that all of us start working together. The Reserve Bank, the government of India, even the state government. If we show to the outside world that the entire political leadership is working together, and by the way, the people of this country have so far given massive support and to the efforts of the government. So if the people of this country are united and we are working together, I'm raising this point because there are examples in other parts of the world where almost 50% of the energy is going towards fighting politically, making a political point out to what is happening, and that is leading to a very incoherent approach to tackling the corona crisis.
Absolutely.
So we have to acknowledge all that.
Sure. Mr. Sinha, I'll just ask one question and then AB sir can come in. I remember in November 2019, you mentioned that a weaker bond market is a challenge is a national challenge which we should undertake, which eventually affects debt mutual funds as well. You think something needs to be done to make the bond market in India strong? I mean, as far as debt mutual funds are concerned, because investment in debt mutual fund is at an all-time low compared to other years.
This investment right now being low is natural. If you look at the global data, you will find that all over the world, people are withdrawing money from debt mutual funds. So this is not something which which presses a panic button for me. This is natural. So far as the development of the corporate bond market in India is concerned, my own understanding is that in the last 5-6 years, we have made substantial progress. If you look at the size, I remember for the calendar year 16-17 and 17-18, the total money raised by corporates in India from the market, that includes corporate bond market and the IPO money and the money invested by the venture capitals in the country, was higher than the net expansion of the bank credit. This is a remarkable thing which happened in our country in front of our eyes. Very few people took note of it, that the market borrowings or money raised from the market was higher in number than the net increase in the bank credit. So a number of steps have been taken. I'm not saying that those further steps are not required. If you want me to enumerate, I'll enumerate again that we have to take some measures to create more liquidity in the secondary bond market. We have to have some credit enhancement schemes. My feeling is that in normal times, if we didn't have a COVID sort of an effect, those things would happen. And I'm sure once the impact of COVID is accounted for, those measures will again be taken. So there is no one solution for developing the corporate bond market. And let us also not forget that the secondary market, even in the government bond, is not very active. We are talking of the corporate bond market, but even in government bond market, the secondary market is not very active. There is a little bit of activity compared to the past on account of the foreign portfolio investors being brought in here.
Right.
I'm sure the FPIs will also, if they are allowed more and more entry into they can participate now, but if that is opened up further for them, that will help. Another thing that I would recommend on this question is that the participation of pension funds in India, the participation of the insurance companies in India in this segment has also got to further improve. And I'll again highlight that the secondary bond market requires some specific measures. We can discuss those measures. We may not be of relevance to your readers at this stage. So those measures will also be helpful.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha. Mr. Sinha, we keep talking about government's role, and whether you're whichever spectrum you are well accepted, and you stayed neutral, and you've been more like a professional and rather than a political appointment. You brought in for your skill and for your maturity and the leadership you bring. Now we keep talking the government, and whatever aisle of the political spectrum you are, the Prime Minister and the government have done a very good job in containing the spread. You look at the numbers, and I don't think you can debate with the numbers. And in a large country, diverse country, indisciplined people, and when we now move on to the economic, as you said, we must wage a war on mitigating the impacts of the negative growth of the economy. When we expect from the government, and the government has a very little leeway. If you look at our fiscal target, we'll possibly have to be more forgiving on if we don't achieve it. We may have to print more. Should we print more? So the government has very little leeway. The government's own finances have been hit. The consumption of oil has gone down because no flights, no vehicles. The money that comes in from liquor sale has gone down. The money that comes from sales into GST has gone down. So the government's coffers are itself not really kind of overflowing. So should we tone down our expectations from the government or continue to have expectations from the government? Is there a balance there?
There have to be some scenarios which have to be built in. Are we looking at a scenario where the entire country will be out of the lockdown on 17th of May, and then the normal business activities will start and people will go back to their jobs? Or are we expecting it to be in a gradual manner, extending up to maybe June or even beyond? Are we expecting a third scenario that the disease is controlled right now, but in winter we have again a round of it coming through and all that. So depending upon these scenarios, we can have a projection about what our growth would be. And then we will have a scenario about how much revenue the government is likely to get or likely to forego and what measures are required. I will make a very small point here because I see that some economists and some representatives of government, although they are not named, they say that they have spoken off record. They have been saying that government should be worried about its fiscal deficit because the credit rating agencies will then downgrade it. My answer to such arguments is that even if you do nothing, you try to maintain within the fiscal deficit level or within the FRBM level, you are unfortunately having a situation where people are going to lose jobs. Already, as per CMI, 14 crore people have lost jobs. We were discussing a short while ago how many MSMEs have shut shop or are finding very difficult to start their operations. So it is one thing that revenue of the government has gone down or will go down in the near future. But I would argue that let us look at the medium to long term. The job of the government is not to look only for the next 3 months or next 6 months. And if you look at beyond 1 year, beyond 2 years, you will discover perhaps that it is better to do it and do it fast. And do what? Better to provide all the support that you can provide to restart the economy and to improve the job situation. Because if we don't improve our job situation, if we don't improve our industrial situation, in any case, if we don't have tax collections, our fiscal will again be under strain. So my point is that either way, I'll request people to look at an either or scenario. Whether you give an X amount of support and to what, to whom, or you don't give a support and remain within FRBM limits. You will perhaps come to a finding that it is better for the welfare of the people of this country, it is better for the medium to long-term growth of this country that we provide some support right now. We should not delay that. We should not delay that. And I, for one, am not worried about credit rating agencies. Credit rating agencies also will have to change their model. What do? They work on a certain model. And all their models are statistical models which are based on pre-COVID situation. If they
both
think,
supply and demand, supply and demand, which are both disrupted in COVID.
If they are considering a downgrade for a country like India, I would like to ask them which other countries in the world they will be saying that they are AAA and AA and India is not. So we are in a very, very difficult situation. It's a new normal. So I would say that if government should also start engaging with sovereign rating agencies and tell them that what are the other options before us. And these are the reasons which we are doing. However, I have one caution, and this caution comes from my experience in being in the government system when the global financial crisis happened in 2008-2009. I'm of the view that government did a very good job in coming with the stimulus that they provided in 2009. But in my opinion, where government could do a good job was they didn't realize the time when they had to withdraw that support. The stimulus, the withdrawal of the stimulus, its recall, that was, in my view, delayed. So what I'm arguing here, that go whole out for it, do it, but make it targeted and make it time bound.
And outcome bound.
Result oriented. Result oriented.
There for all time to come. You should know that there is a sunset in this. People should know. The industrialists and the business people of the country should know that there is a sunset in this. So have a number, have a sunset, and ensure that the support is given in a targeted manner.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha, for being pragmatic and real and giving from your vast years of experience, giving us way forward. You're rightly saying that the government should act right now and engage with the credit rating agencies and explain to them that there is a new normal and they must look at India in that context. There are trade-offs to be made.
The models
and
of
there should be
rating
a
agencies
sunset.
have always been questioned time and again.
Yeah. So I like the fact. So you're clearly saying that over the next 12, 18 months, the government should loosen its purse strings. It should not think that much of the fiscal deficit, at least for the next 12, 18 months, because that will ensure that the economy will be back and hopefully we'll be able to target the fiscal number that we want to. Now, I want to move on to Mr. UK Sinha. Mr. UK Sinha, what is your leadership style and what are your, because you were the chairman of SEBI and without referring to companies, you know what judgments I'm talking of. You took very, very black and white point of view on things. No shades of gray. So tell us a bit about your leadership style and give us 2 or 3 predictions for future.
Predictions for future?
Not for your style, but about what will happen from where we are coming in terms of economy, where will India be equal to it from economy. So I've asked you 2 questions. One is, what is your personal leadership style? And second, what are your predictions for the future?
Well, I would like to say that it is very important for people in any large system, government system or a corporate system, to know how to work in a team. If you are not a team player, howsoever talented you may be, whatever ideas you may be, you are not going to get the optimum results.
So,
my approach has been that I take my team forward, team together, and I've been lucky that I have got support of my team wherever you want, whatever difficult situations came in, we all work together in this. And people, when I talk of the team, it obviously means that people who are talented, they should feel that they are being recognized, they should feel that they are being rewarded, but there should be an element of fairness in this. You have to be fair in that. You have to be transparent in that. And that is what helped me. I have written in my book that...
going public. The book is called Going Public.
Going Public, I've given 2 examples. You should work in a team. You should be proactive. You should be trying to get expertise of the sector that you have. There should be confidence that you are on top of things. And the whole organization should be behind you. These are some of the things which I would like to mention.
When I talk to colleagues, I talk to a lot of people because of what we do. I meet people. There is a mood of despondency. People are a little fatigued. People are a little unsure. People are sad. What would you say to them to cheer them up? Why should they be more optimistic about the future than they are today?
There is an element of economics and psychology and sociology in your question. If people are feeling sad, people are feeling depressed, it's quite natural. Because every day you hear stories which are quite depressing. Hundreds and thousands of people dying, people, migrant workers facing all sorts of difficulties. They are trying to cycle or even proceed on foot for hundreds and thousands of kilometers and dying in the process and all that. But the point is that humanity has faced crisis in the past. India has faced crisis in the past. This is one of the most important, most serious crises. But there are reasons to cheer as well. If, for example, India had not introduced these containment measures, India did not have these lockdowns, I shudder to think what would have been the impact of the disease right now.
Right.
So, and I also must say that for a large democratic country like India, people in this country have behaved very, very properly and positively and supported the government measures. There have been isolated instances of health staff or sanitation staff being confronted, but by and large, people have supported this. So I see hope there, and I'm an optimistic person. This is a crisis, but this is a crisis for the whole humanity. Our people are well educated. Our people are very good in technology. They are well connected with what is happening in outside India. After all, we have been the technology providers for almost the whole world. But we have to get our act together. And my only advice would be, and only suggestion would be, that this is something which requires a national effort, a national build-up, a national cooperation.
A national consciousness.
I hope the people of India realize that small differences have to be put aside right now, and we have to start together so that people in India are safe, their health is all right, and economically we bounce back. We will bounce back, I'm 100% sure.
Thank you so much on that optimistic
I
note
have
and
one
very
last
practical
question.
inputs coming from a very wise man. I would call you the oracle of the financial markets. So if you are saying something, I'm sure a lot of people will take note and hopefully implement. Abhinav, your question?
I just have one question, Mr. Sinha. In India of today, who do you think we need? What kind of leaders we need in India today? Do we need more specialists? And this was my favorite question in the list, by the way, which we had sent you. Do we need more specialists, or we need more jack of all trades leaders these days?
Yeah.
I think this question has not been properly framed. You see, let me give an example. I would like to compare the government or the machinery of the government to running a large corporate which is in the business of producing multiple products. The product range is large. If somebody is producing a software, somebody is producing a computer, it's a different matter. But government is not servicing only one set. Government is starting from poverty eradication, to rural roads, to health, sanitation, to childcare, to healthcare, to education, to urban development, to scientific development, to making spacecrafts, to fighting the enemies of the nation, to maintaining internal discipline and internal law and order. So government is like a corporate which has multi products. It's not a unique product company. Now you look at any of the companies which are in the business of producing multiple products. For example, if there is a company which is producing salt and motor vehicles and also producing steel and is also producing software, who do you think should be heading that company? A software specialist or a motor car specialist or a salt specialist? So similarly, the important thing here is that person, whosoever is heading that company or whosoever is heading the bureaucracy, that person should have leadership qualities. He should be tested on his leadership qualities. And one of the requirements with leadership is that they have to acquire new knowledge. Maybe you may have tremendous knowledge of making soap. If you are in a company which makes soaps to morning cereals, you may be an expert in soap. You may not be an expert in cereals. But that is not required. What is required is what sort of a leadership quality you have and what sort of a shop floor experience. Because one of the important thing is that people should have experience working at the lowest level and at the ground level. And same thing happens in the Indian bureaucracy. So the question whether you should be a specialist or a generalist is not the right question. The right question is whether people who are being selected to head different ministries or having senior positions in the government in various ministries, are they being selected in a fair manner? Are there any restrictions in bringing right people there? If there are restrictions, those restrictions should be removed. And when I say this, I mean that if something has been kept reserved for a type of people, then that should be removed. So the best should be selected, and best should be selected in a fair manner. And the question of a specialist, what sort of a specialist can you become? You are a doctor, for example. You may be an MBBS. You may be a MD or an MS. But now there are super specializations. who do you make Secretary Science and Technology? Would you like to make Secretary Science and Technology who is person only restrict the choice to a person who is a space scientist? Or would you like to make a person heading this ministry who is also an epidemiologist, or who is a nuclear scientist, or who is a defense scientist? So the important thing for us to remember is that options should not be closed. The right talent should be, and if you are hinting that there are people who are monopolizing this by virtue of a particular service that they have joined, then you have a point. And I would argue that that should be removed. But you cannot have a unique rule that everybody in the government heading leadership position has to be from a particular background. So there should be openness in providing entry to people who are deserving, and maybe we need to more of that, but that should happen.
Mr. Sinha, our question was more towards.
To ask one question.
Our question was more towards business leaders and not government leaders, but I get your point.
It's a fair question. He's saying that the government function is very diverse. It should be on basis of leadership.
No,
and
exactly.
it should be on the basis of the past record. For example, Mr. Sinha worked in the Ministry of Finance. So when he went to UTI or he subsequently went to SEBI, he understood how the financial, if he was, say, the Secretary of Financial Services before he became the Secretary of Finance, he had understanding of that domain and he had shown leadership. So he had domain expertise, he had leadership, and that's how. So I want to ask you, through this, you had a very good career, very high profile post, very good reputation, very ethical reputation, right? Now, are there people in the last, you worked pretty much, this is your 69th year, right? This is your 69th year.
I'm 68.
Your
yes.
third March born, right? Right? So, so this is so tell us people you have looked up to. Give us 2-3 individuals, whether politicians, whether bureaucrats, whether leaders, who you have learned from. I'm sure you learned from a lot of people. You said you worked with 4 chief ministers in Bihar. You worked with 5 finance ministers. You worked with 2 prime ministers, right? So tell us, what have you learned? In terms of leadership, give us people you looked up to, you admired. I'm sure we can learn from everyone. But who did you look up to, or who you hold in awe?
I will hesitate to name people, but I can tell you what I look for. And I look for people for their actions, for what they have done. And the qualities I look for is, and I'm talking of public service, I'm not talking of business leadership. How sensitive they are. How much do they care for the people of this country? To what extent they can go to solve their problems? How committed they are, how sincere they are. And I have learned from such people. I have interacted with such people. I would not like to name them. But I would say that having faith in basic human values, having faith in basic constitutional values, and being sensitive to people, being sincere towards their task. These are the things which I look for, which are the things which inspire me.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha, for talking to BW Business World. I'm sure at a better time of our country's history, in the next few months, we'll re-engage with you, talk to you, and get your wise, inputs.
Insights.
I'm sure our readers and our viewers will benefit from your inputs and your advice. And we look forward to another interaction soon. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.